Good evening out there. Well, the sun has slowly made its way down once more, and we can finally get comfortable and have a chat. My name is Eddie Booze, and this is Exit the Matrix. Throughout my life, I have traversed my share of rabbit holes, and like many of you out there, I have seen and experienced some things that I simply cannot explain. I invite you all to consider that this world may not be exactly what we've been told it is, and that maybe, just maybe, we haven't even scratched the surface of the absolute truths that lie before us. That being said, let me welcome today's guest. We have Rachel Mueller, the Girl IQ. How you doing, Rachel?
Hello, doing fantastic. Oh my gosh, that intro is giving me the chills already.
Awesome. Great to have you. Great to have you. So today we're going to discuss something, Rachel actually hit me up. She's one of the producers here at Pacific Lens Studios, and she runs her own show. And she's the social media director here at the studio as well. So she came in one day and she said, hey, I've had some really interesting things happen with my family, the women in my family, and some ghosts and some interesting experiences, and I'd love to come on and talk about those. So I said, no, that's a Exit the Matrix topic if I've ever heard one. So let's get her on and talk about this. So today we're going to be talking about ghosts and hauntings. Spirits that refuse to rest, and so essentially. Why we still fear the unseen. Every culture has ghost stories. Some hauntings seem like echoes, others feel targeted, intelligent, and malevolent. But we're diving into 3 of the most chilling cases ever recorded today.
Ooh. And
then we're going to ask, you about your experiences, and we're going to talk about some personal things, here, kind of go back and forth with that. How's that sound?
That sounds amazing. I got the tea.
Awesome. I love it. So I'm really interested to see what personal experiences you've had, because a lot of people that I know and I've had these conversations with, I tend to... They always tend to dismiss it. Like, no, I've never had anything like that happen, or I've never experienced anything like that. So
I agree. Some people, they're like, no. I'm like, oh, do you believe in ghosts? They're like, no, they don't exist. No. And it's like, right. I can tell you otherwise. Exactly.
Personal experiences is definitely something. So, the hauntings that we're going to experience today particularly are actually backed by hundreds of witnesses, physical evidence, and in some cases actually death.
That's wild.
Yeah, they challenge our assumptions about consciousness, energy, and what happens after we die. So, again, Rachel Mueller, the Girl IQ. She's a digital creator, a researcher, and believer in the strange and unexplained. She does have her own paranormal experiences that we'll uncover at the end of the episode today. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and about some of the projects that you're working on right now before we jump in here.
All right. So, hi guys. Thank you for having me. First off, I'm the Girl IQ, Rachel Mueller. I do social media. I am a full-time content creator, and I do a bunch of consulting. I'm the social media director here at Pacific Lens Studio. I get to work with Eddie, which is freaking amazing. He's a character in himself. Always keeps it entertaining in the office.
Appreciate that.
And yeah, just making a bunch of content and sharing that with you guys.
That's awesome. Yeah, she's very experienced in what she does. She's run a lot of social media content for a lot of musicians. When we first met with her, she was mentioning some of the musicians that she's worked with, and I was like, oh, I know those musicians, so it's really cool to have her on board. But so let's jump into the very first haunting today, and this is probably one of the most famous hauntings I think that's pretty much ever been recorded in modern history.
Wow.
So we're talking.
You're gonna educate me.
Okay, so a couple of these, yeah. Well, maybe, but you might know this one. Did you ever see The Conjuring? Or The Conjuring 2?
Yes, that scares me.
Okay, so the second Conjuring, I believe, was about the Enfield poltergeist. And then that particular story is extremely interesting. And So let me give you the kind of the story. So this happened in England, in North London. I'm sorry, not in England, in Enfield, in North London, and it was between 77 and 79. So this happened for 2 years. Okay, so the primary witnesses were Peggy Hodgson and her 4 children, Janet and Margaret. Now, the events that unleashed were the haunting began on August 30th, 1977, when Peggy Hodgson heard loud crashing noises from her daughter's bedroom. She went to investigate, and she saw a heavy chest of drawers sliding across the floor on its own. She pushed it back, only to have it move again as if resisting her. Over the next few days, unexplained knocks echoed from the walls, objects began flying through the air, disembodied voices, cold drafts, and other strange phenomena tormented the family. The activity focused most intensely on the 11-year-old Janet, one of Peggy's daughters. Now, the possession of Janet. Janet soon became the epicenter of these events. She began speaking in a gravely male voice.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Yes, that claimed to be a man by the name of Bill Wilkins. This man had died in the house years earlier, actually.
Wow.
The family later confirmed this story matched an actual former tenant, including the details Janet could not have known.
Wow.
In one of the most chilling tests, Janet continued speaking in a demonic voice even when her mouth was taped shut.
Oh my gosh.
Baffling investigators. Now, as far as I remember, there were like hundreds, including cops and like therapists and things people who showed up at the house and actually witnessed these things happening, moving, her talking in these things. Apparently, like her speaking like that was also caught on like camera.
What?
Apparently, like yes. So
that's absolutely insane.
Yes.
I would lose my shit. I would lose my shit if I saw that. A
Right.
possession. That's another level.
I mean, and that's like. Okay, so that's one of those things where you're seeing it with your own eyes, and you kind of like, I don't know, like how I feel. I've had some experiences, and I know you had too, but like that, like you said, is another level, you know?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
Especially
so-
like a male voice when it's like a little girl.
Exactly.
How could you explain that?
Like a gritty male voice, you know? It's very, it's very creepy, number one, but also like extremely, I feel like that's not something that you can like replicate on purpose. Like,
No,
especially as an
absolutely not.
11-year-old girl.
Yeah.
You're not even if she tried, she couldn't like replicate a gritty old male dude's voice.
That'd be difficult for me to even do. I'm 30.
Right. All right. So, but check this out. So, in one of the most chilling tests, Janet continued speaking the demonic voice, even when her mouth was taped shut, baffling investigators. She was frequently observed in levitation, including a series of photographs that captured her mid-air with no support visible. Now, there were some investigators that were on the scene that actually confirmed some of these things as well. So, Maurice Gross and Guy Lyon Playfair of the Society for Physical Research investigated the haunting extensively, spending 14 months with the family and documenting over 2,000 incidents.
Wow.
They recorded audio of knocking, furniture movement, and Janet's terrifying voice.
Oh my gosh.
A police constable also filed a written report after witnessing a chair slide across the floor without anyone touching it.
Wow.
Paranormal phenomena. Curtains twisted themselves into ropes. Objects appeared to move through solid walls. Faucets turned on by themselves. At one point, Janet was allegedly teleported from her bed to a different room entirely.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy.
Okay, so check this out, though.
I'd lose my shit.
All right. So, apparently, some of these incidents were staged. Janet admitted later that she and her sister faked a few events to test the investigators.
Yeah.
But insisted the core of the haunting was real. Even critics noted that many phenomena occurred when no one was looking or under strictly controlled conditions. Okay, the story was later adapted into The Conjuring 2. And Janet, now as an adult, stands by her story, saying some of it was fake, but not all of it. I know what I saw. I know what happened. So, okay, so put yourself as the mother of this 11-year-old girl in this house for 2 years, by the way. Like, what would you, like, would there be any action taken on you? Would you move? I mean,
Honestly,
like,
if I was a mother, I would leave. The first night that something happened, I would literally book it. I'd be like, nope, not for me. Literally, I feel like if I am there and I see it, sometimes your mind plays games and you're like, did I just really see something?
Right.
Or am I just going crazy?
Exactly.
And if I was literally there and shit was moving, dressers were moving by themselves, I'd be like, peace out, Boy Scout.
Right, exactly.
I'm out of here.
Exactly. And like, I think the extended period of time here plays a factor. You know what I mean? Like the fact that it wasn't just a one-off, or like every once in a while. Like we'll talk about this, but in my house, I have very specific incidences that have happened in the house that I live in now. But they're like every once in a while, like every like few years, like something like significant will happen, you know? And so I lived in that house for, 15 years now, but...
So it's bearable, it's not like constant every day.
It's not an everyday thing.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, something significant will happen where it's like, okay.
You're like, that wasn't normal.
I know, and you got to kind of acknowledge it because it is a thing, like it's there. Well, we'll talk about it later. We'll talk about the exact things that happen later, but like I said, you can't ignore it, but if it's a one-off or it's every once in a while, it's one of those things that like kind of out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
But if it's 2 years, every fucking day, excuse my language, but every day, that's almost unbearable in my opinion.
Completely unbearable. Which makes me lead to this question. Do you think that if your mind is on that subject and thinking about it, it will encourage that to...
You're creating more of it?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. So every great world leader in history, and some of the greatest minds in history of none of them agree on much, but they all do agree on one thing, and that one thing is that our thoughts create things, that we create our own realities based on what we focus on. So when we think about things, when we focus on things, when we're constantly dwelling on things, whether by fear, by joy, or by some other means or some other emotion causing that focus to happen, we by default are creating that reality and bringing more of that into the universe.
Or attracting it like a magnet.
100%. The universe says, oh, you are that thing. I'm going to give you more of that thing. Because it doesn't give us, God in the universe doesn't give us what we want. It gives us what we are. So if we are in a state of, lack, or if we are in a state of fear, or if we're in a state of guilt, it's going to give us more of that thing. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think that absolutely consciously focusing on something along those lines may be bringing that into your life more. However, I will say too that, like I said, if
also some people are just chosen.
I mean, that begs the question, like two things. Number one, if this happened for so long and they didn't move, that almost makes me feel like it was faked. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're willing to like endure that kind of trauma for years at a time.
Like, why did they stay so long?
But at the same time, what if they didn't have the money to move? And
maybe they were locked in a lease.
Right.
I don't know.
and they had all these people helping. Apparently, those two guys stayed with him for 14 months.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like they weren't just alone at the house.
Yeah. Like
suffering this thing.
I'm sure they had like 24-hour eyes and like protection.
That's what it feels like here. Reading the facts of the story, it feels like they had some sort of help going on.
Yeah.
And it feels like they were kind of involved in trying to figure out what was going on here.
Yeah.
Instead of run away from it.
They were probably super curious as well. They were like, "What is this? Let's explore this."
I will say though, if my 11-year-old daughter was it was taking the brunt of the attacks of this thing, I would definitely want to get out. I would definitely want to move. I would definitely want to figure something out to end the situation, as it was, and leave everyone else. Dude, you guys stay in this house and figure it out. Obviously this Bill Wilkins guy died in this house.
Yeah.
So he's connected to this house. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I wonder why he chose the daughter of all people.
Okay, so maybe she was most susceptible. Maybe because she was the youngest, and she was still closest to source, closest to God in the universe. Maybe she was most susceptible to a spirit world or the spiritual, vibes or frequencies. You know what I mean? But that's a good question too.
I would agree. Like, what if they moved out of the house? Would it take over someone else, another kid?
That's a good question.
Would it stay in the house? Would it move with them?
Exactly. That's a great question. Again, that's one of those things that I was asking myself. Like, if they were to have moved, would it have followed the daughter?
Yeah.
I don't think it would have. I honestly think it was using the daughter as a means because it was telling them to leave.
Really?
Yeah, like, as far as the movie goes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I remember in the movie, it was telling them, like, get out. Like, like the daughter was like, get out of here. You know what I mean? So I was like, that was the main message from what I took from the movie that the guy was portraying to the girl. So,
So why did this, spirit being want them to leave the house?
I don't know. Because it was his house. I think, as a spirit who refuses to leave somewhere, apparently he, felt that he, that was his house still, and maybe he had unfinished business there and didn't really want to go anywhere. That's kind of what it feels like to me. But I mean, I don't know for sure. I can't tell you the means and motivations of this ghost. You know what I mean? But
I would like to know.
I know, right?
We would like to know.
Exactly, right. So, but yeah, I mean, that's one of the most interesting ones to me. And when you really dig like further into detail, because we're kind of just scratching the surface of some of these cases. But again, the researchers, they experienced over 2,000 incidences in the house.
That is crazy.
Yeah, so
2,000 over 2 years or something like that.
Over about 14 months.
14
that those
months.
guys
What
were
does
in the
that
house.
break down to?
A lot. It breaks down to a lot per day.
Every single day.
I mean,
yeah.
yes, absolutely. So,
that's wild.
there is something to it, and if you guys are interested in that particular case, go check it out. It's the Enfield poltergeist case, and The Conjuring 2 was actually based on that. By the way, that was an actually scary movie. I put that on the very first time I watched that. I put that on at probably 2 a.m. I was gonna fall asleep to it. Bad idea,
that's a horrible idea.
I laying in my bed. I put The Conjuring on. It was a really good movie, so I was staying up and I'm watching it. And then the scene, I don't want to spoilers here, but the scene where the nun is the shadow of the nun in the room where with the painting and everything.
I'm getting chills.
That scene in its was crazy. I was like, that was one of the most well done horror scenes. If you haven't seen The Conjuring 2, definitely check it out.
I feel like number 1 and number 2 both killed it. I couldn't sleep for a whole entire week. I slept with my lights on.
Right.
I literally did. I could not sleep.
They were good movies. I gotta say, those were good movies, and that's one of the reasons James Wan is such a acknowledged horror filmmaker, because he showed with those 2 movies that he could just kill it and knock out great. I mean, I think when I think of hauntings and movies about hauntings, I think it's been done. We've seen it a bunch of times. How are you going to scare me again with a haunting movie? But every once in a while, somebody will make one that really hits home, and I think the Conjuring movies did just that.
That one hit home.
Yeah, I think they did.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
All right, so let's jump into case number 2. So this case is the Bell Witch. A lot of you guys out there have heard of the Bell Witch haunting as well. This was in Adams, Tennessee. This was between 1817 and 1821, and this one's a little gnarly. So the primary victims of this were the Bell family, especially John Bell Sr. and daughter Betsy Bell. So at the beginning of this, the horror began when the Bell family spotted a strange black animal with glowing red eyes near their property. And soon after, they heard banging on the walls, chains dragging, and gnawing sounds at night.
What?
Yes, the invisible force attacked their daughter Betsy, pulling her hair, slapping her, and whispering threats. The entity introduced itself as Kate and seemed particularly intent on harming John Bell Sr. and Betsy.
Oh my gosh.
The spirit not only spoke, it sang hymns, recited entire Bible passages, and carried on long conversations with guests. It mimicked voices perfectly and even displayed clairvoyance, revealing secrets about strangers. Its intelligence and power grew stronger over time, and it made clear it wanted John Bell dead. John Bell began suffering from violent seizures, swelling of the face, and extreme fatigue. He eventually died in 1820 under mysterious conditions.
Oh my gosh.
The family claimed they found a vial of poison next to his bed, and the witch gleefully proclaimed she had given it to him. This is the only known haunting in U.S. history blamed for a person's death in official records.
Oh my gosh.
Check
I have goosebumps right now.
That's a gnarly one, right?
I have goosebumps.
I'm telling you. Okay.
Wild. Freaking haunting leading to a death.
That's the first one. That's the only one that we know about that's, I mean, you know, you gotta think that there's others.
Oh, 100%.
You gotta think that there's others that have
a bajillion stories we don't even know about.
Exactly. The unreported ones, the ones that people who don't believe in ghosts or whatever, and they don't report anything and all, you know, and then one of their family members or they themselves end up passing away under mysterious circumstances and no one can really explain it. You know, and it's like, well, and they didn't even report, or because they didn't think anyone would give any credence to it. They thought it would be all just, you know, laughed away.
They're like, everyone will think I'm crazy.
Exactly.
They're not speaking to the right people then.
Yeah, exactly. So check this out. So Andrew Jackson, former U.S. president, before he was a president, he visited the Bell home out of curiosity.
What?
Legend says that he and his entourage were chased off the property by the witch who mocked them and caused their carriage to stop moving.
What?
Jackson is said to have remarked, "I'd rather face the British than spend another night here."
Oh my gosh, that's
I know, right?
wild.
I know. And in 1821, the spirit actually just up and declared that it was leaving, but it would return in 107 years. That year was 1935. Locals reported strange happenings in the Bell Witch Cave, which still exists and is considered one of the most haunted places in America.
Oh my gosh. Do you know where that is?
Yeah, it's in Adams, Tennessee.
Oh my gosh.
So
want to take a road trip?
I can't.
Just
You
kidding,
know what?
not.
I kind of feel like I do. I want to go down there and like interview some people from the area. I want to do one of those, like, I mean, you remember the beginning of the Blair Witch Project? Like, I want to do that for the Bell Witch and see what happens.
That would be wild. That would be crazy.
That would be a cool documentary, actually, I think.
That would be.
But
Wow.
okay, so I feel like you would want to take some sort of like protection, but like what kind of protection would you take from a supernatural entity such as like a witch who already killed somebody?
That kills. Yeah,
I know,
it's a witch
right?
that actually kills. It's like what could protect you?
I know.
Not even your
Exactly.
own mind.
I know. So that one's really crazy. So
That's insane.
yeah, I know. So what do you think about? Okay, so this tripped me out. So the voice, they said the spirit not only spoke, it sang hymns and recited entire Bible verses. So what do you think about that? What do you think about a ghost that was apparently religious and was still wanted John Bell dead and still wanted harm to come to people? What a strange
that is so strange
mix.
Especially like just the Bible verses in general. If I heard that on like daily in my ear or just like around me when no one was around, I would lose my shit.
Yeah,
I'd be like,
creepy.
what's going on?
Right.
Am I going crazy? Am I dead? Am I going to die? Like, that is too crazy.
That is really weird.
That is too crazy. And the fact that this ghost was able to mimic voices.
Yeah.
It's
Perfectly.
like, perfectly. How could you know the difference between, you know, your kids or your partner talking to you?
Exactly. And yeah, I'm sure that could cause a lot of really interestingly strange
Dynamics.
Yeah. And it actually reminds me of some stories that I've heard recently where I'm not sure if you like watch how much YouTube you watch, but there's a couple content creators I like Mr. Nightmare is one, and he tells like just scary stories, you know, but apparently stories that are true, about 3 or 4 stories per episode. They're about between 10 and 20 minutes. And a couple of these stories over the last few years that I've heard are something along the lines of somebody was at home by themselves. They knew their parents had just left, or they knew that their husband had just left, or their wife had just left, and they knew they were gone for the day or something like that, and they knew they were the only one at home, and then they heard like their mother's voice from the basement.
What?
Yeah, and like they'd go open the door and still hear it calling them, come down, come here.
Oh my
I need you to see something.
gosh.
Yeah. And then that person call their mom and say, hey mom, like, are you here? Like mom's like, no, I'm at the grocery store, blah, blah, blah. Like freaking these people out. Yes, I'm telling you. Like,
I'm getting chills. My eyes are watering. That was just too
I
crazy.
will send you some of the links to a couple of these stories that I've heard lately from Mr. Nightmare that have that. And like, you know, some of them are like, you know, they're always coming from like a different part of of the house. Like it's either like coming from the upstairs bedroom or from like the basement
The
or
attic.
like the kitchen, the attic. Exactly. And it always trips these people out. And these people are always like initially they go towards whatever it is, but they always stop and they always have that feeling you just had. They get that.
Yeah.
They get these like, I can't go any further. You know what? One time I was on my way back from Oklahoma. I was traveling down the 40 freeway and I stopped at this Indian ruins in Arizona. Arizona and New Mexico are just full of amazing like Indian ruins and you know, sites like that, you know? So yeah, exactly. So I went down, I got off the main path on my way back to California one day. I was by myself and I just thought I would go check out these Indian ruins. So I'm out there by myself, and I went to the main ruins place, and I believe it was for the Hopi Indians. It was one of their ruin sites. And I go to the main site, and I'm walking around by myself for a little while, and I'm looking around. It's fantastic. It's beautiful. I drive to the other site, which is like kind of in a remote place, and there was nobody out there that day anyway. I was the only person out there at the main site and the other site, but the other site was kind of like remotely like kind of down into this canyon a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I get out of my truck, I go where I'm supposed to park, I get out of my truck and I start walking to go over this hill and like down into this canyon. And I get up the hill and I'm just about to crest the hill and I get this overwhelming feeling of don't go any further. And I was like by myself in the middle of nowhere. It's the middle of the daytime, mind you. So it's not like night, it's not dark, but you know, there's no one around. There's nobody in sight, nobody for miles.
Oh my gosh, your body just felt stop.
Yeah, exactly. And I stopped for a minute and I thought to myself, So I walked back to my truck. I got my firearm. I put my holster on. I got my firearm.
Wow, it literally that feeling made you grab your protection.
100%. I start walking back. I get to the exact same spot on the hill, and something inside me literally told me that firearm is not going to save you from whatever is over this hill right now. Go home. I turned around. I walked back to my truck. I put my firearm away. I got in. I drove away.
Oh my
I didn't even go to the second site.
Oh my
because something told me it was some sort of, there's something dangerous here. Don't go any further. You know what I mean? Very strange. And I had that feeling. Like those people feel when they have that experience of like somebody calling their name from another room and then.
That's just crazy how literally the same location, you went there a second time and then it was like, nope. Your first thought there was, okay, something's wrong. Okay, let me grab protection and then I'll go and check it out. Same location. Nope.
Yep.
Turn around.
Exact same thing.
Turn around.
Wasn't even a question. It was literally like I got up there and I was like, in the whatever that voice told me in my head, it was like, your firearm isn't going to do you any good.
Did you ever have any thought that you were gonna maybe I'm just thinking like weird thoughts?
For a moment.
Should I take a step forward?
For a moment, I did, but I tend to follow my instincts when I have things like that happen.
Your gut was like, nope.
Yeah. And there, I learned a lesson. I've learned lessons in my life too, where there's been times where I've had things like that happen and I didn't listen to my instincts and something terrible happened, So I tend to really listen to those moments, and sometimes they're not my instincts. Sometimes they're other people's instincts. One time, and I've told this story on the podcast before, one time I got a call early in the morning. I had just bought a boat, and I got a call early in the morning from a woman who owned a nonprofit agency that I barely knew. I had met her in passing because I own a nonprofit agency that works with developmentally disabled children, and so did she. So we met in passing. We're like acquaintances, like colleagues. And so don't even know this woman, right? She calls me randomly on one morning, like on a Sunday morning. She goes, hey, I know we don't know each other that well, but I had a dream about you last night. And I don't really want to go into detail, but I think you should stay away from water for a while. And I was like, really? And she said, yeah. And I said, I just bought a boat. And she said, stay away from water. So I sold it. I sold my boat. I listened to her. I listened to the.
Wow.
There was something about that like it brought me to that point where I was at that hill, and it said, "Stop! Don't go any further with this.
Wow.
Don't go in the water for a while." And I didn't. I probably didn't go down. I probably didn't even go to the beach for 2 years after that.
That's great. That's wild.
Seriously.
And for someone that you like, you met but you don't know so much to call you and say
Yes.
don't, and then you taking that and being like,
Yes.
I'm selling this boat that I just bought.
Well, that's why I did, because it wasn't someone I just knew, like, and I talked to every day, and it was like, this person's maybe fucking with me or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, that's a random experience you have, and you don't, like, those are the type of things that you don't ignore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't.
No.
Yeah.
100%.
I mean, I take that chance, you know?
Yeah. Why take that chance? Literally, just hearing your story, not like demonic on my side, but I have a story. Literally, me and my sister were just going to the racetrack because we were gonna race cars. We were so excited, so pumped. Literally had this plan for like a week. Literally, I get there and I have a full blown panic attack. And my body tells me like I cannot get in that car.
No shit.
I cannot get in that car. I like almost started crying.
Wow.
And I could not. I didn't even go in the car. I was
wow.
like, I can't.
You listen to your instincts.
I
That's
did.
good. I'm
I
telling
did.
you. Everybody out there, this is going to happen to you in your life once or twice. Listen to there is something your body does when it knows it's in some sort of peril, or it knows that there's something not right and that you can't sense on a conscious level. Listen to those instincts,
100%.
people. Seriously, they could save your life. They could save people around you. They could say, it could be beneficial for you. And really, to be honest with you, what's the downfall? What's the downfall of taking a moment and saying, you know what, maybe it's not right. Maybe this situation for me isn't right. In this moment,
Yeah.
I'm
going to sit back on this moment.
Exactly. I'll do something.
It's okay to take a step back when you're feeling that moment.
Yep, absolutely, 100%, absolutely. All right, so let's jump into the last case we have here, and then we'll get into our personal cases. All right, so this one is the Perron family haunting. Now, I don't know this one actually. This is a new one on me. So
Ooh.
This one happened in Harrisville, Rhode Island. So this one happened for 9 years. This one was between 1971 and 1980. Wow. So the Perron family, Roger, Carolyn, and their 5 daughters.
Wow.
The house with a curse. The parents moved into a 200-year-old farmhouse in 1971, unaware of its dark history. The property had once belonged to the Arnold family, many of whom died by suicide, drowning, or mysterious illness.
What?
Almost immediately, the family experienced doors slamming, disembodied voices, and apparitions of mangled humans and weeping ghosts.
Oh no.
Bathsheba Sherman, the dark spirit, the main entity, was believed to be Bathsheba Sherman, a woman accused of infanticide and witchcraft in the 1800s. She had allegedly sacrificed her infant to Satan and hung herself in the barn after cursing the land.
Oh my gosh.
The Perron children reported seeing Bathsheba's twisted face. Their mother, Carolyn, was stabbed in the leg by an invisible object, believed to be Bathsheba's knitting needle, her supposed weapon of choice.
What?
And then, Ed and Lorraine Warren, the people from The Conjuring. They, world-famous demonologists, investigated the haunting in 1973. Lorraine claimed the house had a portal to hell with multiple dark entities feeding off the trauma in the home. During a seance, Carolyn was violently possessed, speaking in tongues and being thrown across the room.
Oh my gosh.
The parents were financially unable to move, which is what we talked about earlier about the Enfield poltergeist, and endured the hauntings until 1980, 9 years. Andrea Perron, the oldest daughter, would later write a trilogy titled House of Darkness, House of Light, chronicling everything.
Oh my gosh.
To this day, the farmhouse is visited by paranormal teams and tourists. Guests report cold spots, shadowy figures, and EVP recordings of screams and footsteps.
That's wild.
Very.
That's wild. Would you take a visit over
would.
there? You would?
I would.
Oh my god.
Okay. So Stephen and I actually had an episode where we talked about haunted objects and things like that, and like artifacts. And we talked about Robert the doll and the Dybbuk box. Now those are two things, like those are things that I wouldn't want to have any kind of contact with at all, because those things are reported to like have issues that follow people that go and have experiences with these things. From what I'm hearing here, and what I'm hearing is that these people don't take these things with them; they just experience them while they're there.
Yeah.
I personally believe in Jesus Christ. I don't, I have a strong faith in Him, and I don't believe that, a disembodied spirit is going to be able to harm me. You know what I mean? I don't believe that their power exceeds His. You know what I'm saying? If that makes any sense.
You're not susceptible.
Not necessarily. I mean, I don't believe I'm going to be necessarily attacked by one of these things. And, hey, I mean, if I am, but. That'd
be a good podcast episode.
If I did go and I was attacked by one of these things or something along those lines, like, I mean, I would probably be a really interesting experience. I mean, I wouldn't probably want to do it again.
Yeah.
And that would probably deter me from wanting to go to one of these things again, But I have had some supernatural experiences happen in my life, and I'm fortunate enough to not feel like they were malevolent.
Yeah.
So, but I think maybe experiencing a malevolent spirit or a malevolent situation like that may change my mind.
Yeah.
That may make me go, I had something like that happen once and I'm not down.
Let me think about that again.
And I don't fuck around with Ouija boards and like
I do
things
not
like
either.
that.
No way. I will not touch that.
But I kind of feel like going to a haunted place wouldn't be so bad or so like detrimental to your health. But maybe I'm wrong. I mean, you ever see the fucking movie 1408, or you ever read the book 1408? That, if a hauntings are real and that could happen, like, I don't ever want to experience something like that. So I don't know. Have you ever read that book or seen the movie? Oh my God, it's one of the best.
I need to.
Stephen King was actually commissioned to write that story by a friend of his who wanted him to write like a short for his magazine back in the day, and he always thought the haunted house story was a cliche, so he ended up writing this story about a haunted hotel room, and he said that it even scared him while he was writing it. And I'll be honest with you, I read it and it was awesome.
Wow.
And then the movie came out and it was really good. Like a lot of adaptations, book to screen adaptations don't do it justice.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, 1408, it was incredible. It was an incredible adaptation of the book. It wasn't exact, but it was damn good.
I think maybe I actually did see that movie.
The one with John Cusack where he was in the hotel room and he couldn't get out. That was a very good adaptation. But that's but yeah, I mean, like I said, I personally feel like the haunted places, and then you can leave. I mean, you don't have to stay. It's not like I'm like in one of those, situations where like I get $1,000 or $10,000 if I stay the whole night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't do that. You know what I mean? Like I want to be able to leave freely. You know? I'm gonna walk in. I'm gonna chill. I'm gonna walk around for a little bit. I might like put a recorder on and like see if I catch anything on camera. But
then once you feel ready to go,
yeah, exactly.
You'll get out of there.
I don't think it'd be spending any extended period of time at any of these places.
Is there a price tag? Could anyone pay you to stay overnight?
Maybe, and I gotta be honest with you. If that's the case, I would have to go there first and be like, or if somebody was like, hey, I'm gonna give you $100,000, to stay in this haunted place. I think $100,000 is a good starting point. I think that's a good base starting. So if anybody wants to approach me and Exit the Matrix to do an overnight podcast, a full 12-hour stream from inside a haunted place, it'll cost you $100,000, and I'll gladly take my cameras and I'll take Rachel with me.
Oh gosh, make it 200,000.
Yeah. So yeah. No, we'll do. We'll get in there. It'll cost base $100,000 for just me.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Maybe I can get Bobby or Joel to do it for free. Or maybe I can kick them a little piece of mind, but
I'll live stream.
100,000. Yeah, right. So, but yeah, that's the going base rate for something like that.
Yeah,
you know?
no.
All right, so
Completely.
okay, so okay, so now that we've gone over some of these hauntings, and I'll be honest with you, that Perrin family haunting was insane to me.
That's crazy.
I liked reading about the Bell Witch one, which was very intense, but the Perrin family one was pretty nuts. 9 years. I feel like the Warrens, by the way, have investigated so many of these big poltergeists and these big hauntings that we know about. You know,
maybe that's why they stayed, at that location for so long.
Maybe. All right, so let's move on. Let's get into some of our personal experiences. So we've already kind of gone into a little bit here and there, but I want you to share some of your most disturbing or personal, maybe inspiring ghost stories.
Okay.
Let me just ask you a question though first before we go into this. Have you ever been physically touched by a ghost or a spirit? Or anyone you know? Because I know you said something about your mom in bed being touched by something.
Yes, that's one of the stories.
Okay, so let's start with physical contact.
Okay, that's one of the stories, and I'll tell you this story, and then I'll go into what I think opened up this life of experiencing all these interactions. So the story I wanted to mention was, I wasn't there. It was my mom. It was at our childhood house growing up, which is where I've had all these crazy
interesting experiences.
Yeah, interesting experiences. So my mom, and like, we're very honest, we're very open with each other. So if someone says something, we're gonna believe it. We're not like, okay, you're
doubting you for no reason.
Yeah, we're not gonna doubt you. So my mom literally, we all woke up and she's like, you guys, I had the craziest dream last night. And we're like, okay, yeah, let's hear it. She's like, I was under some sort of sleep paralysis. I couldn't move. In this dream, I was in my bedroom, and I was literally being dragged off my bed from demon. It was very short, but I was literally dragged off my bed. And she's like, you know how I woke up this morning? My body was halfway off the bed. All the sheets were off. I never sleep like that. I was literally off the bed.
Wow. And so did she feel herself being pulled, or did she just wake up like that?
No, she said in the dream. She saw the demon pulling her, dragging her off the bed, literally in her own room, own location, and literally she wakes up and she's there. She's exactly where she was left.
Did she describe the demon?
Oh gosh. She probably did. I don't really remember, and I'm probably sure she doesn't want to think about it at all.
Sure.
But how she said she literally was being dragged and pulled to the bottom right of the bed, and she woke up halfway off the bottom right of the bed, exactly where she was left off. You gotta be shitting me.
Yeah.
You gotta be joking.
No, that's an extremely strange experience,
That's
wow.
Extremely physical.
Yeah, to have a physical, right, exactly. To have a dream like that and then to wake up with a physical indicator that the dream had some sort of real life kinetic consequences, it has to be very intense and kind of overwhelming, like emotionally too. Because did it affect your mom? Did that stay with her for a while, or was she able to just kind of jump into her day,
Honestly,
and just move forward?
I'll have to follow up with her.
It's interesting.
We haven't talked about that story.
That's super
in a very
interesting
long
to know
time,
how she dealt with that.
But I'm very curious.
I am too.
Which leads to my next thing is so strange, but all the girls in my family have like endless amounts of paranormal stories in that house that we grew up. Like, they've fucked with me, they've fucked with my twin, they've fucked with my sister, and they fucked with my mom.
Interesting.
So it's like, why are the girls being so focused on, like, why are we being targeted? It's literally crazy.
So you said you were going to tell me a little bit about why you think this is happening.
Yes. So I wasn't born yet, but it was my mom, her brother, and her sister, and they were fucking with the Ouija board.
Oh my God.
And
that's a sure way to invite in something that you don't want in.
It was them three playing with the Ouija board.
In the house?
I don't think it was this house. I think it was a different house.
Interesting. So you think it's possible that they played with this Ouija board, they, maybe inadvertently invited something, maybe across some sort of threshold, and it followed them from one house to the other, and it's been following this family ever since?
100%.
Interesting. Now, as 100%. The girls in the family separated and moved into different places, did your girls in your family experience more things even when they were in different places?
100%.
You're kidding me.
100%.
Now, another question. Did it focus mostly on the three girls who played with the Ouija board?
It was my mom, her sister, and then her brother.
Interesting. So the three would play with the Ouija board.
So I'm not sure. I don't really have the closest bond with my aunt or my uncle. But what was crazy was they're playing the Ouija board, and they ask, a bunch of questions. And one of the questions was, how many children does our parents have? There's 3 of them. How many children do our parents have? And it said 4. And they were like, well, that's strange. No, there's only 3 of us. No, it's clearly wrong. It's clearly wrong. They go up to their parents and they say, hey, we were just playing the Ouija board and we asked how many kids you guys have. And it said 4, but there's 3 of us. My grandma and grandpa, their mom and dad, respond, there actually was a kid before you that passed away.
Wow.
So they never knew that.
So it knew things that even they didn't know.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
And this was this the initial time that they were playing with it, and they...
Yes, this was the first time, and
Did they continue?
I don't think so. I'm not sure.
So it was just a one time, and ever since then, there's been strange incidences occurring.
I think that is what unlocked,
Interesting. Of course,
all these experiences.
Yeah, that's a lot of people say that playing with a Ouija board or using a Ouija board does that. That's exactly what it does. That's what it says.
I think that is the moment where everything
opened started,
up.
Right?
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm really interested to know, because it feels to me like you said that it's kind of followed not only your mother but like the girls on your mother's side. So I wonder if
us. The girls are the daughters.
The daughters.
The 3 daughters. Me, my twin, and my sister.
Your twin and your sister.
Yes.
And then, but my question is, I wonder if the same thing has happened to your aunt's kids, if he has any, or your uncle's kids, if he has any.
You're gonna make me dive into a deep rabbit hole.
I'm tripping right now.
You're gonna make me dive into a deep rabbit hole.
Because I want to know. Like I want to go interview them. I want to be like, what is going on?
What is going on?
What do you guys have going on in your lives? Is there poltergeists and ghosts, and they're following you around from house to house, especially the girls in the family? I want to know. Something's going on.
I need to look into this.
Dude,
I need to get these answers.
We need a follow-up. We need a follow-up episode to this. Right? All right, so check this out. So a couple of things that happened in my house. So I didn't really have too many strange experiences. I've had some premonitions before, but I didn't have any like kinetic, tangible incidents until I moved into the house I'm in now.
Wow.
And the very first thing that ever happened was the very first week I was in that house. I have security cameras in my house, and I like to be able to pop them on and look at my dogs when I'm gone, just to see if my dogs are okay. Like, that's the main reason I have them, just to check on my animals, you know? Yeah. So I pop it on the camera. I'm at my buddy's house right around the corner from my house. My buddy had just moved in there too, and I just moved into the neighborhood, so we're kind of new to the neighborhood. So I go over to his house. We're hanging out. We're partying. I'm like looking at my phone and the camera, and I'm watching this thing, and I see what looks like a piece of, you know how like when you're looking at a camera and you see like a piece of dust kind of like float in front of the camera, you know? it looked like that at first, and then I kept watching, and it was like floating around the room. Like,
was it like an orb?
It was an orb. It was like a light orb, and it was floating all around the room.
What?
And the thing that tripped me out was that my dogs were watching it. My dogs were seeing it. Like, I'm looking at the camera, my dogs are on the floor, this thing's floating around the room, my dogs are like watching this thing fucking walking around, following it around, and I walk over to my friend, and I show him, and I'm like, do you see that? And he goes, yeah, what is that? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I'm going to go home and check it out. Like, it was right around the corner. So I got in my truck. I ran back to my house. And by the time I got to the house and went in, it was gone. Like, it was off the camera. It wasn't, I couldn't, like, it's like by the time I got back and walked in the house, it was just nowhere to be seen. Like, it was crazy. Yeah.
That's crazy. You literally saw it.
I watched it. My buddy saw it. The dogs were watching it. Like, that was the very first time I saw anything in that house.
Oh my gosh.
About a month or two later, maybe, no, it wasn't a month or two. It was maybe a year later. I was sitting in my living room watching TV, which is like, I have this like downstairs area, but it's like only like 2 or 3 stairs that goes down into like my music studio. And I can see it from my living room. I have a nice like open floor plan of my house, like see through my dining room, like right into my downstairs area. And I'm sitting on my couch, like watching TV in my living room in my upstairs area. And I hear boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, the fuck? And I like lean my head over and I look down. I look down the stairs and I see my Daisy's Kong ball, which was, you know, those red Kong balls that for dogs, those red hard rubber ones. And it had been sitting on the desk downstairs, but it was like sitting there for like months, and it was like behind like a couple of like movies that were like upright. It was like sitting back there, and somehow it had like gotten out of there and rolled off the desk and just bounced across the room.
What?
And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I walk down there, I grab it, I bring it back, I put it on the desk, and I'm thinking to myself, there was no wind, it's late at night, I had the doors closed, there's no fan back there.
Literally, when random objects move, or like something like gets pushed off a table, that makes me say, what the hell is going on? What was that? So did you ever have anything like that happen with you guys? Have you ever had anything where like physical things move on their own when you could like see it happen, or like saw the aftermath, or like something along those lines? So for me personally, thank goodness I have not seen anything like that. For me, more so, we see like ghosts and spirits.
Oh wow. Like actually seeing the ghosts and spirits, that's a trip.
Yeah.
I think that would almost trip me out more than actually experiencing like the moving things in the house.
Really?
Yeah, because another experience I had was I was in my living room, same spot. I was literally sitting in my exact same spot on the couch, and I have when you walk in my door, like right in my like foyer or whatever it's called, or foyer or whatever. I had this picture of my family, and it wasn't on the wall. It's like sitting on there's like a little like table, like, you know, end table that sits right there, and it's got, you know, I have like keys and shit, you know, but I have a little family picture that's sitting on there, and it was leaned against the wall. It was like leaned against the wall. The wall's here, the table's here, pictures like this.
So there's no way in hell it should go the other way.
It went like this, behind the thing. The bottom pushed back to the wall, and it slid behind the table.
That is weird.
It didn't slide down onto the table. It slid like this and flew behind the wall. It didn't make any sense. It literally,
there would have to have been pressure.
It was physically impossible for that to have happened. I ran it over in my head 100 times. I walked over there. I picked up the picture. I looked at it, and I looked back down on the table, and I thought to myself, what the hell just happened? How in the world is that even possible?
Well, that's not possible.
It's not possible.
Not in this world.
Right. Well, okay. So one or two other incidences, and I know I'm forgetting one, but I want to show you the last incident that I actually caught on tape.
Oh my gosh.
So I was recording and I showed Steven this in the other episode too. But as I move forward with this Exit the Matrix thing, you guys are going to constantly hear personal experiences of mine, and sometimes you'll hear the same ones. So essentially, you guys will end up knowing, some of the things that have happened in my life. This is one of them. And so I was recording I have a YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/EddieBooze, and it's mostly music. But I started a series called This Is Me, where I would just talk into the camera about certain things about my life, and the first episode was about how I got sober. The second episode was about how I found music, and I was doing a sound check. I got my guitar in my hands. I got the microphone up here in the room. I got it turned up, loud to where it can hear me talking, out of frame, where I'm not having to talk into it like this. So I'm doing a sound check. I'm doing some singing. I'm doing some talking. I'm doing some guitar playing. I go to listen back to the tape to make sure it sounds good, to make sure that my voice is clear on camera, to make sure that I can hear the guitar when I was going to play a song on the episode or whatever. And so I go and listen back, and I'm kind of scrubbing through, and I heard something that was like, what the hell was that? So I cut it out. By the way, this was a big mistake. I cut it out, and I removed it and deleted the rest. I should have kept the whole thing.
Oh my gosh.
I should have kept the whole recording. It was like a 5-minute recording. But I just sliced that one piece out because it was so like, what the fuck just happened? So I heard, okay, now I'm going to let you hear it, and I want you to tell me what you think it is. What you think if you hear anything in particular.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to give you the headphones.
Okay.
So go ahead and take these headphones, and go and put those on. And then I'm going to play this thing, and we're going to listen together and see if you hear what I heard. I listened back, like I said, 1,000 times to this. I jacked the volume up, and I think I know what is heard in there, but let's take a quick listen. I think I got the volume down this time, so it's not going to blow your eardrums out when I turn it on, you guys. So those of you out there, it's okay. It's not going to blow you out this time. All right, cool. All right, here we go. Did you hear that?
It sounds like a female voice.
Okay. Okay. So, it sounds like a female voice, right? Now, what did it sound like? Did it sound like she was talking or whispering or?
I don't know exactly what she said, but it sounded like she said the same thing twice.
Okay. So, exactly. So here's what I got out of that. So when I listened back to it 100 times, it sounded to me like she said, like it was a woman's voice whispering.
Yes.
And it
100%.
sounded like she said, Don't stop doing that. Now listen again, okay?
I think that's what she's saying.
Crazy,
I think that's what she's saying.
Right?
You caught this? That's insane.
It freaked me.
No one else was in your house?
No. It freaked me the fuck out. I was by myself, and when you're recording things like that on audio, when you're recording audio like that, what you want to do is you want to make sure all the fans are off, the air conditioner's off, the TVs, the radio. You don't want any like humming or background noise or anything like that.
Yeah.
The first thing I did when I heard that, as I jumped, I was fucking like you talk about hair on your arm standing up. Like I was legitimately like that was the first time in my life that I've had an experience like that legitimately freaked me out. That I was like, something is in this house with me. This is tripping me out. Like, and I was legitimately scared. Like I was like,
And this was right before you were gonna film, right?
Middle of the day, 2 PM, right when I'm about to film. Like, so I got up, I walked all around my house to see if there was any fans that could have been making like a noise or nothing. TVs, nothing. No radio, nothing. Everything was off.
Wow.
And and you'd think that it was like, if I was catching some audio from like a neighbor yelling or something, it would hear them yelling, not whispering.
No, it was whispering.
It was a fucking whisper.
Oh my gosh.
And it sounded to me like she said, don't stop doing that. I'm gonna play it one more time.
I put this back on.
Like,
I think that is exactly what she's saying.
I mean, that's what I got out of it.
To catch this, and it's like,
insane. And I realized I made a huge mistake by deleting the rest of the file
Do you
because
think
I
she
had,
would have said more?
maybe. And later that night, I actually I put the microphone back on. After I was done, I was like, I wonder if I could catch anything else. So I put the microphone back on and I just let it record.
Oh my gosh.
For
how long?
For like an hour or something like that. And then I stopped it and I went back and I put my headphones on and I just listened to the whole thing as I was like doing work later on. I cranked it up and I just had it in my headphones. And then like I forgot that I was listening to like a recording, and I thought I was listening to like the microphone just being on, and then I heard like my footsteps walking down into the downstairs to turn it off, and it freaked me. I'm like, what the hell? There's somebody walking by me. so
oh my gosh, really? I hear it.
Nah, it scared the shit out of me. So, but no, that was one of the craziest. That probably was the most tangible experience that I've ever had in my life, as far as that type of thing goes. But
that's wild.
Yeah,
and I actually have a story like in addition to that. It wasn't for me, but it was for one of my my really good friends growing up. Her name is Ashley, and she has a son. And she was in her bathroom and she just like had like the weirdest feeling. So I don't know why she did this, but she took her phone and hit record and she left it in the bathroom and walked away and then came back, hit stop. And then she listened to the audio and there was speaking in the audio. And then she showed me and she's like, listen to this, listen to what I captured. This is she's a female. A male voice that was whispering, watch your son.
No kidding.
On the recording.
Wow.
Watch your son. Literally, I heard that. She showed me, my eyes watered up and I was like, oh my God. She's like, I was the only one in the house.
That's crazy. Yeah,
crazy.
That's very, very trippy, man. I want to hear that recording too. I know she still got it.
She still has it.
Please,
she probably does.
Send it. You know, I want to get a good. You know, in fact, everyone out there, guys, if you guys have recordings like that, send them to us.
Send it over.
Send it to Eddie at PacificLensStudios.com. I want to show you people on here anything that you guys have. So me and Rachel are going to definitely do a follow-up episode to this. So I definitely am serious. I want to get your recordings. I want to get your a follow-up to your mom's story, and I want to get any viewers video, audio experiences, even if it's just writing the story down and allowing me to tell it on the episode. I would love to do that. So
we all got homework.
Yeah, send in your personal experiences. You guys would love to explore those. And we're kind of coming to the end of our episode here, but before we go, I still
have so much more to share.
All right, well, you know what?
How much more time do we got?
We have, because you have an appointment here.
I do.
In 5 minutes.
I think this might need a follow-up episode.
It's gonna need a follow-up episode. So we're already over an hour.
Wow.
So but this is good.
I think we could have gone for like 2 hours.
We could easily go for 2 hours. These Exit the Matrices kind of like, I want them to be half hour to 60 minutes long, but they tend to be between an hour and 2 hours long. I
think there's just so many stories that could be shared.
There's a lot of exploration of the incidents, that we talk about. So that leads to sometimes a little bit longer format conversations, but I love them. I definitely want to get into some more of the personal experiences that you have had.
Yes.
I thought we would have more time today. We were supposed to start a little earlier. We have had some little meeting earlier. But
hey, that just means you get to see me again.
That perfect. So we'll do a follow-up episode of this. I really can't wait, actually. I really would like to I really want to hear some more of the personal experiences you had, and I want to get some follow-ups to your family and like what's happening on your uncles and aunt side. Like, I want to know if like there's any, reach out to those cousins.
I'm going to.
Dude, seriously.
I'm going to reach out to them. I'm curious.
And that next episode will focus solely on that. We won't go into a bunch of other stories about hauntings and ghosts. We'll follow up with what's going on in your family, some of the incidences that you've had particularly.
Yes.
And then we'll just kind of focus more of the episode on that.
Yes.
Sound
that
good?
sounds great. That sounds fantastic.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I feel like today was a good entrance into like ghosts and hauntings for those of you out there who don't know so much about like some of these particular cases that have happened before, and that the fact that it is a real thing that actual people are dealing with on in this world, and.
It's crazy.
Yeah, on a fairly regular basis too. I mean, you got to think about it. Like the Catholic Church has an entire section of people that deal with exorcism.
Yeah.
So
it's a real thing.
That should say something. You know what I mean? So okay. So conclusion. Let's do a little conclusion here. Okay. So. Theories on ghosts: residual energy, like a tape loop of trauma replaying, intelligent spirits, conscious entities trying to communicate or torment, or demonic mimicry, entities pretending to be loved ones or victims to gain access. Ooh. So these are a couple of the theories on like what ghosts may be, what hauntings may be, what paranormal experiences like that, like this may be. But if they're real, hauntings are evidence that consciousness does survive death. And if not, why are so many people having the same terrifying encounters across the centuries?
Yep.
Rachel, let me get your final take. Do you believe every haunting has a message, or are some simply just chaos echoing through time?
I think everything happens for a reason, and if there is some sort of interaction, there's meaning behind it, whether it's revolves around you, something targeting you, or it just happens to be in the space that you're in. I think there's a reason that thing is happening. Someone's trying to communicate with you. You're in a space where you're not supposed to be. That's what I think.
Well stated. And I think that's evidenced by sometimes the feelings we get when we're trying to enter those spaces.
Yep.
Like we talked about
the feeling
earlier.
of being stopped
Yep.
before doing something.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so before we go, I got a little. We're gonna test your ghost IQ, Rachel. All right, I'm gonna give you some hauntings, and you're gonna tell me if they were a real haunting or just an urban legend. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Number one. All right, you guys out there at home, I want to see you guys playing too, okay? So, the number one is the Greenbrier Ghost. In 1897, a woman's ghost appears to her mother to expose her murderer, who is then arrested and convicted. Is this real or was this fake?
I think it's real.
Sure is.
Dang.
It's the first known case where a ghost testimony helped solve a murder. All right. Number two, the Screaming Hotel of Sweden, 1912. Guests hear nightly screams on floor 7. Record of that on floor number 7, but no records of that floor exist. Answer: real or fake?
Real.
Fake.
Fake.
Internet urban legend from Reddit. It's an internet urban legend from Reddit. So the Screaming Hotel of Sweden. All right, so the ghost of number 3, the ghost of Flight 401 from 1972. Crews see deceased pilots in plane mirrors after parts from the wreck are reused.
What? I would have to say fake.
That's real.
What?
So they reused parts of a plane that had crashed to build another plane, and the crew of that plane have seen the deceased pilots in the mirrors of that plane.
That's wild.
Multiple reports from Eastern Airlines employees.
That's wild.
Crazy, right? That's insane, dude. All right, so I heard that one before. Actually, when I read that, I knew that one was real. But that's a wild,
That's
right?
wild. Attachment to objects.
Exactly.
Are a thing.
Exactly. And that is insane. Like, you use wreckage from a plane. Like, oh my God. Okay. By the way, I got to do an episode on flight TWA Flight 800 with David McKenna pretty soon. Talks about all types of things like that. Okay. Anyway, so the Crying Nun of Nova Scotia, a haunted statue linked to a nun who bled from the eyes.
Oh my gosh. False? Fake?
It's false. It's inspired by horror lore, but there's been no documented cases of it. Okay. So now, number 5, Waverly Hills Death Tunnel. Been used to transport TB victims' bodies, now said to echo with moans.
False. Fake.
It's real. One of the most investigated paranormal sites in the U.S., the Waverly Hills Death Tunnel.
Ooh, where's that at? Do you know?
I don't. Waverly Hills? I don't know what state it's in. But
that's wild.
Yes, one of the most investigated paranormal sites in the U.S., the Waverly Hills Death Tunnel. I'm going to do an episode on the Waverly Hills Death Tunnel. Right. Number 6.
I'm not going to go there.
Right? Number 6. The haunted chess game of Charleston. Every time players try to finish the match in a park, they vanish.
False.
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 It originates from a fictional creepypasta. All right, so number 7, the final one, the fire ghost of Chicago, 1871. A red-eyed spirit was seen fleeing the scene before the Great Fire in Chicago.
I'm going to say false.
That one's real.
Whoa.
That one's real. Witnesses at the time blamed devil men or omens, but there were witnesses that saw a red-eyed spirit fleeing the scene before the Great Fire in Chicago in 1871. That's wild. I didn't know that.
You gotta look into that one too.
Right?
Oh my gosh.
But for you guys out there...
This is crazy.
Yeah, exactly. It's wild.
This is wild.
Right? So there's a lot of crazy stuff that we've kind of explored today. But for you out there, what if ghosts are the leftover trauma of humanity echoing into our dimension, you know? Are there some spirits that are desperate for justice or revenge? And what does their presence mean about our own fate, you guys? So just some questions to think about and ask yourselves. I'd like to thank my guest, Rachel Mueller, the Girl IQ. Thank you so much for coming on today, Rachel. Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited for the next one.
Absolutely. It's been super fun. Love to have you back. Love to do a follow-up here, you guys. And everybody, I want you guys all to remember, we are spiritual beings having a physical experience, not the other way around. My name is Eddie Booz, and this is Exit the Matrix. Take care, you guys.